Welcome back to Dos Amigos. I'm Wilmer Valderrama.
And I am Freddy Rodriguez. And that first episode was so fulfilling, so information based.
Yes.
That we had to make it into 2 episodes.
Yeah, so this is part 2. So sending you guys a lot of love and enjoy part 2.
You know, what I try to tell the younger generation is like, especially the ones that are like, I'm going to be an actor and that's it, right? I go, you look at people like Ron Howard, right? Like he started off as an actor and then became a director, you know, or even like Ben Stiller or something, right. You know, you got your Larry Davids, right? Who were like, they started off as writers and then they became actors. It's like, as long as you're sort of in it somehow, you know, like keep your options open, you know, maybe if you explored or dug a little deeper, maybe you're a good writer. Maybe you should also explore that as well. Maybe you should explore directing, especially now that we have the YouTubes of the world and other and where you can shoot an entire movie on your phone.
Access to tools and resources.
Yeah. So be taking advantage of that. Which also I you know, when young actors ask me, you know, what should I be doing? You know, I always tell them, dude, just be doing it. Right? Be doing it.
Whatever it is, just start doing it.
Just be doing it. And doing it could be making movies for YouTube, you know, making your own stuff, you know, because every time you do it, you're going to get better. Your skills are going to get sharper.
Right.
Maybe somebody's going to see something you did. I mean, man, look at like Issa Rae, for example, or Quinta Brunson, or some of these people who did fantastic work on like YouTube, and then all of a sudden somebody saw their stuff and that translated into like their own television show.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm trying to think in my mind like what could I offer in this moment about ambition, vision. You know, having a vision that you want to materialize, that you want to become real. The truth is that you can't wait for the opportunity to come to you, because that's just kind of how it works. You really got to be ambitious enough to go after it. And I always tell young people, I was like, look, there's 2 ways that this can go, right? You're working your 9 to 5, and somebody goes, "Hey, you can be a star."
Hey, you, buddy.
And I promise you, you're gonna wait a long time for that.
Yeah.
Or you can say, "I am a star. I do have the talent, and I'm gonna continue to work on this craft. So when the moment I get that shot, I can not only nail it, but hold that opportunity and stretch it into a career." And ultimately, like, you know, I also tell a lot of people, it's not the movie. And it's not the show. It's what you leave on that screen that gets you the next job.
Oh, man. I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, I've been on stuff where you know, I worked with actors who think like, no one's going to watch this, you know, and they'll phone it in or something. Like, my biggest fear is to like do something that I think no one's going to watch, and then it's like on at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And I suck in it because I thought no one was going to see it. And then all of a sudden, like someone who's about to make a decision sees me at 3 a.m. on something that I'm absolutely terrible in.
Yeah, that's my biggest nightmare. It's my biggest nightmare. You know, he's never consistent. Some good, some bad, you know.
Yeah, he kind of sucked in this thing I saw.
No, I'm
like
petrified.
3 a.m.
Petrified.
So like, I don't care what it is. I remember when I first started even doing like network TV, you know, people were like, well, you know, you came from cable and film, and like, you know, I'm like, I don't care, man. I said, whatever, I'm delivering the same type of quality performance I did on film, like cable, whether I worked with Christian Bale or not. Like, I don't care if it's network. Like, I am always gonna deliver that thing. You know, I'm never gonna phone it in, or
what do you think it is?
You know,
what do you think it is that drives your soul to say it like that?
Because it's all I know how to do. Because it's what it was taught to me when I was 18, 19 years old. Because I had the privilege of working with so many wonderful, great
who came to play.
I've worked with some of the greatest directors, producers, actors, writers of all time, you know, and there's just a certain level that they function in, you know. they fire on very specific cylinders, and that's what I know how to do, And so, we're in an industry where, back in the day when we were coming up, right, it was like, well, you're a TV actor, you're a commercial actor, you're a film actor, or whatever, Now it's none of that. All that stuff is out the window,
Absolutely.
And so I was taught a very specific way, and I don't care if I'm doing a freaking M&M's commercial. Like I'm gonna bring that level of quality to that performance as well.
That's right. And I never forget that someone 3 feet away from me is waiting for me to trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somebody is waiting for me to slow down and take a deep breath and sit on the sidewalk and just rest because I think I've traveled enough. Mm-hmm. Somebody's literally maybe less than 5 yards away from you, ready to lap you if they have to. Ready to run over you, if they have to. And the only thing that holds the line for you is your level of consistency and dedication to your craft and to yourself, and I think that's, I don't know, that's why I try to do so many things, right? That's why I venture into so many different aspects of my industry, because I just feel in my heart, while I have the opportunity, might as well leave a little imprint in all these different places that I can show up, so then I can create an atmosphere and an environment, a landscape where like most of us can come in and make it all possible. And I don't know, I'm that dude, man. I really feel in my heart that like this is my calling here, is to continue to lock arms with the Freddy Rodriguezes of the world, to say like, oh, let's keep pushing the line forward. Let's push that bar higher. And I think that's the gift of this moment. We're entering a moment of our industry where it's the most receptive to our culture that has ever been, because they have now realized we are incredibly valuable to the success of just entertainment as a whole. Yeah. Corporate is following suit, national communities are waking up to it, and what a gift for us to be not only alive, but to be sitting where we're sitting, to be able to shepherd and shine a light in the different directions our culture can go to. To me, you're an inspiration, Freddy. And you talk about inspirations, you talk about the people that were there along the way, and most importantly, images that did it before you. And you did it before me. And you've done it a couple of years before me. We're about almost the same age, but you started a little younger. I had to.
Too many years.
No, not too many. Not too many years, but enough years that I had to burn those early years in learning how to speak English. You didn't have to, But I think the idea that I could, sit across from you and say, man, you did it right. You opened the door for so many of us to continue to expand in the different directions that you had been. Yeah. Made it possible for all of us to carve those roads, and you should take grace and you take pride in that. And
thank you, brother.
That's what those amigos is about. Like, it's about getting to know the battle scars, the wounds, how we got here, and what kept us alive through the best and the worst version of our industries, and the fact that you've had the pedigree to outrun most and outlive the best. Is something I need you to be proud of. And, if never anything ever happens, after this conversation, I think I can at least historically record it. So, so your children and children like yours can live up to a moment where someone like you existed. You think back at all the people that did it before us, and that's why, John Leguizamo, you brought John Leguizamo in some of our, inspirations. The fact that in our lifetime we can tell that, dude, you broke it in half and broke it open for us too, and for us to make weird choices too, right? Those two are a little outgoing with the choices we make, and I saw myself in him because I always wanted to play dirty. I wanted to play the dirty guy, I wanted to kind of dirty myself up and play something I wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I was privileged enough to get to tell him that. I mean, and hopefully we'll have John on here where I get.
That'd be great.
We all get to tell him this in person. But I've done 2 films with him, and obviously I've said this to him face to face many times. But my sophomore year of high school, I was a drama major and I was in drama class. He came to my high school to speak to my drama class.
No way.
Yeah, he was doing.
Did you ever tell him?
Oh yeah. No. John and I have had extensive conversations. And he came to speak to my class. He was doing Speakerama, one of his one-man shows at the Steppenwolf Theater, which was only a block away from my high school. And somehow my drama teacher, Miss Robinson, got him to come and speak to our class, right? Wow. And our class was only like, I don't know, 20 people or something. And he came and he spoke, and I was the only Latin kid in the class, And so my drama teacher was like, well, we got to introduce the one Latino kid to John, the other Latino guy in here. And, she introduced us and we exchanged pleasantries. And John and John's sense of humor, he kind of rubbed me on my head and he was like, yeah, maybe one day, you'll play my little brother. And then I was all cocky, and I looked him in the eye and I was like, yeah, well, maybe one day I'll be where you're at. And then we just kind of locked eyes for like a second, and then he left, and that was like 92 or something. And like 3 years later, I was starring in a movie with him.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
We did a movie called The Pest together.
Of course, The Pest, the classic for all of us.
Yeah, and we shot that movie.
If any of you who's listening or watching, you hear about The Pest and you're like, what is that? Do yourself a favor. Right now, make it a movie night. This is a movie you have to watch.
Yeah, and then a couple of years later, like, I walk into this rehearsal and I'm like, you don't remember me? And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. And he's like, no, man, who the hell are you? He's like, I was like, you came to my class. Yeah. And he was like, well, now we're starring in this movie together. But, as we talk about inspiration, it was such a moment for me to tell him how much he inspired me. And we've become good friends since, and I've gotten to tell him a million times how much he's inspired me. And that's big bro to me, But to turn it around on you, Wilmer, what you've been able to achieve has been, just phenomenal, inspirational. Listen, not only to like the next generation that's coming, inspirational to me, man, and to your peers and the people who watch you become this incredible entrepreneur, which is so incredibly important for everyone who's listening here. Is it important to see you on TV every single week? Yes. Are you a visual representative? Yes. But what you're managing to do, like even with this show right here, as a producer, as a prolific producer that you're becoming, I can't really think of too many other Latinos who have been able to do that. And for you to be put in that incredibly privileged position, you must feel, and I'll let you answer that, but I would imagine the sort of deep sense of responsibility. And let me tell you, as somebody, as your friend, as someone who's doing this with you, being able to look in, I feel that you're handling that responsibility incredibly well. And you're handling it well. You're laying the foundation down for the next generation. You're laying the foundation down to make us a more commercially viable force, which is obviously you and I have had this conversation before. In order for Latinos to become a more commercially viable force in the industry, and how important that is. Because once we become a commercially viable force and we continue to prove that we're the ones buying the tickets to come and see the movies.
We're an investable, marketable
yes,
place, yeah.
we're the ones, the stuff that we put out makes money, people watch, and you're right at the forefront of that, man.
No, thank you, Freddy. I brother, appreciate that. That. And I am the guy who doesn't take a beat to look back and say like what how much we've been laying the groundwork. We just take it day by day and one at a time, and try not to overwhelm myself with any grace.
Yeah.
And I think I would just say this: I have this urgent desire for it all change.
Yeah.
Dude, we've been waiting so long for people to understand the value, but most importantly, what we've contributed that continues to subliminally disappear from history. And so to me, it goes beyond. Like I read the story of the 125 Mexican infantry unit that was built in El Paso, that was dropped in a Nazi-infested Rome during World War II, that nobody wrote about, 125 Mexicans. They were all put together in one infantry unit. They were sent to the front to see where the fire was coming from.
Mm.
And they did some of the most heroic stuff in World War II. You know, they make friends with the Italian villages, and they almost spoke the same language because Spanish and Italians were,
Right.
you know, were so similar. You know, they send a signal to the Germans, to the Nazis that wait a minute, look at all these Latinos speaking Spanish, and spies were saying this is proof that Mexico has joined World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, these are Mexican Americans that were coming from El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
And I think about stories like that, and I go, whoa, if we knew that,
Yeah.
if we knew that, we also fought
Mm-hmm.
for the freedom and the gift that is this land
Yeah.
to everyone, we'd feel a little differently about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't think we're just a guest in this country. You know, if we had more images, more of our stories to be portrayed at that level,
Yeah.
what would the world look like for my daughter? Right? And so for me, like, as soon as I had Nakano almost 4 years ago, you know, I always was in at you know, gear 5.
Yeah.
I put it in 6 as soon as she was born because I said I want her to wake up to a reality when she's a teenager, when she sees her language, her culture portrayed on effortlessly
Yeah.
and subliminally on screen. And somebody goes, wow, look at how colorful, look at how included this, look at the representation. She goes, what are you talking about? I don't see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And she almost forgets, you know, what it wasn't,
Right.
you know, or like what it was not like. You know, I think so I think a lot of my passion comes from like, you know, can we create a world where they can wake up and know like, oh, I can also be an attorney. I can also be the hero of my story, you know, and it doesn't matter what I look like, right? And for her to get to that point where it doesn't matter what she looks like, the world has to be painted differently. And it has to be painted with the true colors, you know, that we commute with every single day in our country, you know, and in the world. Because Latinos are Italian, they're Japanese, right? Latinos are are from everywhere. Latinos are Indians, they're Australians, they're Canadians. Latinos are everything.
Yeah.
And I think nothing will give me more joy than to be able to just continue to build a path where we can continue to just tell this. And the way I look at it is one story at a time.
Yeah.
One venture at a time, and hopefully by the time we look back, it's like enough made that it cannot be erased.
Yeah. Well,
know?
I see the urgency. I feel it. And for those listening, there are times I look at Wilmer and I go, dude, when do you sleep? This guy works so much, man. It's like, you know, and then all of a sudden he wants to do a podcast. I'm like, are you sure? Are you
This
sure
is where I come to rest, though.
Are you sure you have the
The
time?
podcast is like
you know.
how I force myself I force you to come and hang out with me.
No,
you know,
man, I'm just trying to keep up. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
I mean, this guy's like, I'm up at 4 a.m. working out. I'm like, so then when do you go to sleep? You know, like 2? Like, what do you sleep? Like 2 hours a night?
I'm telling you, man, 5 feet behind me, there's somebody waiting to lap me.
No, I hear you,
And
man.
you know, so I gotta have the stamina of Sonic the Hedgehog. You know,
That's a good comparison.
you know.
man.
Thank you, man.
That's Sonic
Thank
the
you. I was a
Hedgehog.
Sega Genesis guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey
But,
guys,
but anyways, this is a great conversation, and I hope that
Yeah.
whoever listens to this,
Yeah.
you know, finds similarities, no matter what industry, no matter what life you're living. That hopefully some of these little nuggets that Freddy and I have been exploring, you know, somehow, you know, connects with you in whatever spiritual, whatever subliminal or just soulful journey that you're on. That whatever ingredients you felt here, maybe something applies to you, and we hope that you continue to enjoy this journey and more inspiration, more hilarious stories, and you know, we should definitely see when we can get John in here. That would be amazing.
Legs, where you at?
We're waiting on you, John.
Where you at?
can I actually jump into? I wanted to ask the question: if you ever had the opportunity to meet one of your influences, is there something of a mantra, of a saying that they imparted on you that you can give to our audience?
Yeah, I got to work with Andy Garcia. We did this movie called. He played Arturo Sandoval, the legendary jazz musician, and I played his son in that movie. And obviously I was, starstruck and everything.
course.
I was so happy to be working with him because he was someone I looked up to so much. And I just remember one day just flat out asking him for advice. And he said to me, Freddie, just stay loose. Stay loose. And I was like, I was rather young. I was like, okay, stay loose, And then it dawned on me later, and you and I have had this conversation. You know how, like, you're doing a scene, and sometimes you'll be watching somebody in a scene, and they're not loose. There's like tension in their shoulders.
Pressure.
There's tension in their face and
Yeah.
you just feel it, right? And then you watch scenes where someone is completely relaxed, right? And it's just coming across as natural. The words are flowing,
Right.
the body language is flowing. And that just clicked after he imparted that on me, after he bestowed that knowledge on me. And I would say that probably goes for everything in life, right? It's not just sort of the scene that you're shooting at the time. It's just stay loose.
Yeah, it translates.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Has anyone ever?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've talked about this a few times in the past, and I'm proud to bring up this memory. When I was 18 years old, it was my first year on 70 Show. Across our soundstage, Robin Williams was shooting L.A. Doctors. He was doing a guest star on L.A. Doctors.
Yeah.
And he was playing a guy with elephantitis, so he had this whole prosthetic thing in his face and all that stuff. And so in between his rehearsals, he came over across the way to meet Kurtwood Smith, who had done Dead Boy Societies with him.
Oh, yeah.
So Kurtwood and Robin Williams are talking, and I walk out, and I'm 18, 19 years old, and I look up and I go, whoa.
Yeah.
That's Robin Williams. And as a young comedic actor, this guy's like Mount Everest.
Yeah, of course.
Effortless, effortless comedy. But at a level that's just hard to comprehend how real and natural he really was about that stuff and the energy he had. So, of course, I went up there and I said, hey, Kurtwood, who's your friend here? And they both smiled. And I looked at Robin Williams and I said, hey, Robin, I said, Mr. Williams. He goes, call me Robin. And I said, yes, sir. Thank you, Robin. I have a question. For a young buck like me, wants to be just like you, any word of advice. And he looks at me, yes, 2 words of advice. Remember and never forget that your fans, because you will have fans, are going to have 3 to 2 minutes of your time for the rest of their life.
Oh, yeah.
What 2 to 3 minutes you want them to walk away with?
Yeah.
And then he said, and 2, remember and never forget that it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
I was changed because I realized very quickly how important it was that everything I did was not just fun, but enjoyable.
Right.
The idea to remind yourself that everything's supposed to be fun. The moment you're stressed, you talk about stay loose.
Yeah.
In order to stay loose, you gotta remember that you have to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Relax, take a deep breath, make sure that it's fun for you. If it's fun for you, it's gonna be enjoyable for everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing about impressions, first time impressions that perhaps sometimes are lasting impressions. What 2 to 3 minutes you want people to walk away with, no matter what's going on in your day, remember that somebody might be going through the same, and whatever you alter those 2 minutes to be, could either help somebody, could also make you comfortable in the moment. You create an environment of harmony, and so that really changed everything for me.
Wow. Fun. Do you ever find that, do you ever struggle with the fun aspect?
I think when I struggle
Has
with
it become less fun?
Yeah, I think it's become. What's become less fun is that I'm running out of hours, and it's become even more evident that my time on Earth, is getting to a point where now I'm living up to halfway through my life, and the other half is the last half.
Yeah. Oh, so you're questioning mortality.
Well, I'm thinking more like with the timeline I have left.
Yeah.
How much more can I sneak in,
Yeah.
So that becomes a little not fun, That's why I think I do so much. That's why I get up so early. That's why I do all those things. There's my 4-year-old daughter upstairs, and she has some very heavy feet.
I love it.
But it is like a very, very sobering thing. Like, before I leave this place, how am I gonna leave it? And I stress over that shit, dude. I don't know why. I just do. Yes.
Huh. Yeah. 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 You know, I
What about you?
I try. I love you know, for me, working, I gotta have fun. Like, if I'm not having fun, I don't feel loose.
Right.
You know, I don't.
Well, at this point of your career, if it's not gonna be fun, it's a no.
Yeah,
right?
man. Yeah, but you'd be surprised that sometimes, you know, you go on a set and it's not fun. You know, it's not fun. And I find, for me anyway, you know, there are some people who thrive in when it's not fun and tension and all that. Like, I don't thrive in tension. You know, so.
Right.
I tried to create as much fun as I possibly could, but sometimes it just gets hard, you know, depending on the project.
You know, and you also think dynamically, you know, you're not the only one going through something or some journey. Everybody else, every actor has their wounds and their scars and their
Totally.
yeah. And it's you know, in that aspect, I would say, when the environment is not ideal, that's when you're responsible to change it, not for everybody else around you, even though they're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But you have responsibility to change it for you.
Yeah.
Because that's when you're going to thrive the most, right? So if the environment is not great, how do I make this environment better? Because it just helps me. And in retrospect, it feels selfless because you're helping everybody else get to that same frequency, you know, of enjoying that moment you're living together. But really, you're helping your environment because you're the one who has to be free, you know?
Yeah.
But it's difficult because there's
times that it
very
can be challenging.
Yes. I mean, we should definitely talk about those moments. Like, how do you enter, you know, a realm, you know, an environment, a hostile environment, and how do you, you know, how do you roll up your sleeves and either make it better or remove yourself from it? I mean, that's definitely an episode. Some of them people need to hear about how to remove themselves from toxic environments, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, returning back to Dos Amigos.
Yes.
It's such a you know, such a privilege to share this with you, Aaron, and with Leo, and you know, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
And Vincent, and Lauren, everybody who makes this possible for everybody. And Aaron, thank you for such a provocative question.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah. You got anything else in the vault there? Or we?
I'm going to save it for future episodes.
Okay, I got you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining Dos Amigos. This was an extra bonus question there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, this episode might actually turn out to be a two-parter. Who knows? But that being said, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in every week, and thank you for loving the show. And give us your feedback. Send us on Instagram all your questions and thoughts, or any themes, or anything that you think we should answer to talk about more. We're at Dos Amigos Talk. On Instagram, and we'll see you guys there.
See you guys there. I'm Freddy Rodriguez.
I'm Wilmer Valderrama.
See you next time.